Welcome to 56-Bit Cloud Cafe, your go-to destination for all tech topics in the cloud. I'm Athir Zalal.
And I'm Patrick Camilleri. And together we'll be addressing various cloud topics.
Welcome back to the IAM series. Today we will talk more about IAM policies and how these rules shape access control in AWS. From my understanding, the principle of least privilege is at IAM's core. What's that, and why should we care about it when dealing with IAM?
So the principle of least privilege is at the core, I would say, not of AWS IAM only, but rather of security in IT in general. Basically, it says, in very simple terms, you should give permissions to users and to applications, not too much, but also not too little, right? Just enough permissions for that person or application to do their job. So as human beings, we usually are programmed to go to the easiest route out there, right? So if it's the easiest way for us is to just give admin permissions to whoever you want to go into the AWS account. Having full admin permissions is rarely the right approach. It definitely is not in line with the principle of least privilege. What you should do is really plan what permissions are required for that specific person, for his role or her role, or for that application. And only give those permissions, but obviously make sure that you give them, because otherwise that application or person will not be able to work. This is easier said than done. There are tools out there which will help you to always reduce and always increase, if need be, the permissions to make sure you reach this nice balance. So it's all about balance. Not too much, not too little.
That's interesting. You just mentioned something about applications that can help us with least privilege. Can you tell us or give us an example about these applications?
Yes, sure. So there are many, but the one that comes to mind is IAM Access Analyzer. So this is like a sub-service of IAM, and this Access Analyzer basically is constantly checking what permissions are being used, and then will give you a report of what you can do to bring your permissions closer to this principle of least privilege. So it will tell you, for example, this person has the permission to terminate AWS instances, EC2 instances, but he has never used them in the last 1 year. In that case, then you can remove that permission from the list. Or vice versa, it will tell you this person has tried to do this particular action but was not allowed. So you need to add that permission accordingly. It ensures that you remain within your security policies that you define, but as close to the middle, not too much, not too little, also known as principle of least privilege, basically, as much as possible. There are other applications out there, third-party applications like Cloud Checker, like others as well. So it would be good to make use of these to be more best practice.
Okay, so based on what you told us now, this application helps us to know what this person is using the most and what he's not using at all. Give me an example I can wrap my head around. How would we use IAM policies to make sure only the right people can access certain stuff?
Alright, so let's get 2 examples. A simple one and one which is maybe a bit more complex. So imagine we want Joe, a human being, who is going to be our administrator. You want them to go into the AWS console and you want them to be able to change everything except changing IAM stuff, except changing or rather deleting EC2 instances, right? So this is full admin, but with some limitations. The first thing you would do, first of all, is planning. So you would have to decide who and what your identities are and what their permissions should be. Once you do that, you can start defining these kind of roles and these identities, and you'll be able to get Joe to do that if you do it properly. So in Joe's case, you would go in, create a user for Joe, that's the identity, share the credentials with Joe so that he can log in, and attach a policy to Joe. Or even better, attach a policy to a group named limited admin, for example, and then just attach Joe to that group. The policy, you will not find a policy managed by AWS that does exactly this. There is the admin policy, which does too much, and then there are the EC2 admin policies and S3 admin policies, which may do a bit too little. So it depends. You might be able to find a policy that AWS has, but when you start digging deeper and going into such more complex examples, you will need to create your own policies. So you go in the IAM console and you create that user, Joe, and this group, attach the user to the group, but then you'll need to attach a customer managed policy, a new custom policy to the group. To create this customer managed policy in the console, you will say, right, so I want Joe to have full admin on all services except IAM, and for EC2, I want it even more complex. I want Joe to be able to do everything except terminate and shut down instances. So this is a custom policy, and what you would do is every policy has different parts. You would give Joe full admin access, so you would say Joe can do all actions on all services at any time, right? And that gives full admin. Then you would do the same policy, you would add another piece which says deny. So you want to deny EC2 action for terminate instances. So EC2 : terminate instances. And EC2 : I believe it's shut down instances or something like, or stop instances, right? So those two actions, you're going to deny them. Now you might ask, first you said we're going to give him full access on everything, and then you're saying deny on specific actions. So which one wins out? Is it the allow or the deny? In AWS, the deny always wins. In these policies, if there is a deny and an allow which are the same, the deny will always win. So in this case, the effect is that he has access to everything except terminate and stop EC2 instances. Then we also said we want to remove IAM access. So in that case, you would create another piece of this policy which says deny IAM : which means all actions in IAM. So this person cannot read, cannot write, cannot change anything in IAM. They cannot stop or terminate instances. But apart from that, everything will be allowed, right? So as a summary, 3 parts to this policy. The first part says allow everything. The other 2 parts specifically deny specific actions. This policy then gets attached to the group that Joe makes part of. Let's go into another example. This time, slightly more complex. So let's say we have Jane. Again, Jane has a user. This user is attached to a group, and this group is going to be named, let's say, non-production admin. So we will have servers which are production, meaning they are carrying live data, and other servers which are non-production, meaning they are there for testing. We want this person, Jane, or rather the group that Jane belongs to have a policy which allows everything as long as the resource that they are affecting is not in production. So to do that, would create another policy that attaches to this group, and it will have full admin again, so all actions, when it comes to actions, at all times, for all services, etc. So but then we will add a condition which says that allow all these actions only if the resources are non-production. They are not part of the production resources. How can we do that? We can do that with tagging. So all our resources, we will tag them, we'll say this is production or this is non-production. And if you do that condition in the policy, the ones that are non-production, they have full access, whilst Jane will have no access for production stuff. And that's it. Couple of examples, pretty complex, I understand, but this is the level of detail we go into, and ultimately, the closer you get to not too much, not too little, that's best practice. That's the principle of least privilege.
As we bring this episode to a close, understanding IAM policies is like holding the master key to secure cloud access. Stay with us for our upcoming and final discussion about IAM. Until then, happy cloud computing. If you have questions, suggestions, or want to share your feedback, connect with us on social media.
Also, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and to leave us a review to help others find their way to the Cloud Cafe.